Hello everyone. So before we get started, if you are enjoying the videos and find them informative, why don't you go ahead and think about liking and subscribing? It really does help out, and I want to do this full time. I just want to help y'all learn how to make games. It's what I love to do. And then, once you do that, have a great day. Otherwise, you know what? I still want you to have a great day. So, with that out of the way, this shameless plug, let's get into the video. Alright, our menu is in place, and we can pick stuff up and view it in there. But we don't have any way of rearranging it, so we're going to set up our drag and drop functions. So let's jump over into our project. I'm going to keep that up on screen over here. And the first thing we need to do is in our inventory icons, we need to give it an index so that we know what position this icon is in our inventory. So we'll go into its graph, and this will be its item index, and it will be an integer. We'll make that instance editable and expose on spawn. Now we can go into our menu where we're adding it. I guess it's in our inventory window where we're adding it. And when we create that, now we can add that. So we'll grab the index and plug it in over here. Because our inventory will have a certain index, and then this item button will have a certain index. It'll line up whatever. You get it. So now that we have that, we can go. Let's duplicate our inventory icon, because we're going to need to be able to create a widget to display what item we are dragging. And the easiest way is just use this one. So we'll duplicate that. This will be our UI underscore inventory drag. Double click and open it up because it's going to need some alterations. So we do not need the button for this one. So we'll get rid of that. We're going to use the highlight. I'm going to reset all of its offsets back to 0, and then make sure that its visibility is not hidden. We want it to actually be visible. You're going to get an error once you compile, but we'll jump over into the graph and fix that real quick. So since we got rid of the button, we no longer need this, and we don't need that button set. We don't need this refresh item info either, or these activate, deactivate, highlight buttons. We can get rid of the make button style and this bottom make slate brush. This is pretty much all we're going to need, which is the item info, the break, the first make slate brush, and then the make slate brush outline settings. So let's grab our highlight, and we're going to set brush. And we'll just plug that in there, and that's good to go. So I'm not going to save just in case I got to restart. Now let's right click blueprint class, and let's search for a drag drop operation, and this will be bp underscore inventory drag, and we'll double click and open this up because it's going to need some variables. So every time we create a drag and drop operation, we can feed in the info that we want to be passing along, which will be our item info, which is our item info struct. If I can spell info, I keep wanting to put if no. Then we'll have an item index, which will be the index that we just added to it. And then we're going to have our previous icon, which will be an inventory icon object reference. Now these will all be instance editable and expose on spawn. So let's instant edit, expose on spawn, like so, and then compile. Now in our inventory icons, this is where the main meat of it's going to happen. This is not the drag one, this is the actual inventory icon itself. We're going to add a couple functions, but we're not just going to add them, we're going to override. So you'll see this little black drop down box. let's click that. And the first one is an on preview mouse button down. I tried this with on mouse button down, but it seems to work better with on preview mouse button down for some reason. I don't know the difference in what preview versus actual show is, I guess. I don't know. But this one seems to work. So on mouse event, we want to see if is mouse button down, basically checking to see which mouse button is down. And click this little keyboard and we can left click or click the drop down and search for it, but we want the left mouse button. We'll add a branch. And if true, then we want to detect drag if pressed. And left mouse button again, and we'll feed this into our return node. So basically we're checking to see which mouse button is down. Is it the left mouse button? Yes, it is. Is the mouse down and it's being dragged? Yes. Alright, well then we're good to go. Now we need to override another function, and this is on drag detected. So we'll back this up, and we are going to create widget, and the widget will be our drag inventory info. So when it is, we will feed in our item info, our item index. I guess it doesn't actually need the index in this one, but we'll just feed it in anyway. Why not? And then we are going to create drag and drop operation. And this is where we'll select our inventory drag. Now these will kind of pop up at the top, but if we refresh it, they'll pop up at the bottom, which makes them a little easier to handle. Now this is just the visual, so it really only needs the item info, and we'll plug this into our default drag visual. Item info will go here, item index here, and the previous icon is a self reference. Let me just hop over here. Yeah. And then after we create our drag and drop operation, we'll just feed this in, and this is the operation connection. So if we jump in and check it out, we should be able to start kind of dragging buttons around. It won't do anything, but we should at least have the right image. And I like this little golden hue it has from the highlight. Now it won't do anything when we drop it anywhere. So let's work on that now, which is in our inventory icon again, function override, and this is on drop. So here's where it's feeding through our on drag detected. We're creating the drag and drop operation. On drop, we're checking to see what operation it is. We can cast to our inventory drag, which is our drag and drop operation, and get that info that we passed along. So it's got our item info and our index and all that jazz. So when we drop, we will get our previous icon, and we're going to set its item info to be our current item info. So we're telling it, hey, you're picking up this while I pick up yours. In a sense, if that, yeah, it makes sense. Then we'll do our refresh item on our button and just feed that right there. Then we will set our, nope, that's the item icon. Set our current item info to our get item info and then we'll call our own refresh item info variable with that same. And then we'll connect that and do that. We are going to have to come back and adjust this, but this gets the actual drop function in place, so we can actually swap things around. Something you'll notice, my hotbar still says I have those too, and when I reopen my inventory, they're back in their original positions. And the reason we need that item index is because we need to set up one more function inside of our player's BPI. So we'll go to our character player BPI player, and this will be our adjust item index. So when we rearrange it in our inventory, we want to pass that info along to the player and tell it, hey, this item info is now in this slot, so in your backpack it needs to reflect that as well, so that next time it's rebuilt it remembers. So in order to do that, we will add our item info, which will be an item info struct. Then we'll add our index, which is an integer. Now let's jump over to our player character, the actual blueprint of it. And in the event graph, I keep saying we're going to come back and fix this. We'll do that soon. I know, I'm upset about it too. We'll right click and we'll do an event adjust item index. And what we will do here is grab our inventory component, we will get our inventory itself, and we're going to set the array element to match our info. Now this down here at the bottom is very important, size to fit. So if true, the array will expand, because the way we're doing the array, it only registers actually as we pick up items. So if we don't have, so let me just do a, let's finish setting this up and then I'll show you what I mean. So we'll grab our player HUD and we'll what is it? Why is it one thing and one and not the other? Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and demo it. Oh. It helps if you actually call that. So, back in our inventory icons, on drop, we will get the index, we'll get our player character, and we'll send along our adjust item index. So we'll drop one here because this first set is handling the previous item. So we would need to get the item info from here where we're setting it in the previous and get the item index that we're pulling out, because this button itself will have its own index. So now we're refreshing the item info for over here, and then we're setting the new one, refreshing the new one. We can, at the very end, adjust item index one more time. This will rearrange it in our inventory. So we'll set it to our new item info, and our new index so that it's updated appropriately. Now, this is what I was going to demonstrate. So now, because of the way we set up our inventory, anything, if I place it here, it'll work. If I swap these, it works fine. If I set it over here, and then I close the inventory and open it back up, it's gone. Reason for that being is we need to tell it to expand if it doesn't find that slot. So if it's trying to add an index that doesn't exist, we size it to fit. And now I can demonstrate it. Now when we do that, close, open, it's where we left it, even if we leave it in our backpack. Huzzah! Now there's a little bit of an issue that we have duplicates down in our hotbar, but we can fix that pretty easily. So in our main player HUD, we can add a custom event called refresh hotbar. I thought we had already built that. I guess I did that in the advanced one and just didn't remember. And it will, oh, no, not there. And our new function will have its own input of a new inventory. So this will be an item info, and it will be an array. And then when we call this, we'll just set our inventory to that, and then feed it through the clear children and all that jazz. So we can go into our player blueprint and call that refresh hotbar, and feed in our inventory. So every time we adjust something in our backpack, we'll see it reflected out here. I'm gonna do just a, let's see, menu. I am going to basically turn this off for a second, just so you can clearly see it happening underneath. So as we swap things up here in our hotbar, it swaps down here. Huzzah! Now this does create one error you may find, and let me demonstrate the error. So I pick up one thing, I open my menu, I swap it over here or put it in my backpack, and then I try to pick up something else. Well, I put that in my very last slot, so it sized my inventory array to say, alright, he's got this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one now. So we will need to do an adjustment on that. We also, another thing we will need to adjust is the fact that we can drag around empty buttons. We don't want that. That one's an easy fix. So we'll just go into the inventory icons and on drag detected. We'll just back this up to the very beginning. And we'll just grab out our item info one more time, break it open, and see if the ID is equal to blank. Because if it's a blank item, then we don't want to do our drag operation. So true, nothing. False, we create our inventory and do all that jazz. So now we shouldn't be able to drag around any empty buttons, but we can our actual buttons. I think I just saw one more issue. Let's see what happens if I have this in my hand and then I drag that away. Ah, Alright, so to fix that, we will go into our player blueprint and we'll get the index that we're setting and see if it's equal to the index of our hotbar. So we'll drag off and do an equal. And if it's equal to the hotbar icon that we have selected, then we will destroy the item in our hand and spawn a new one. And the one we're spawning will be our item info. We'll just pass it along like that for now. So it should only spawn if we have something there, and if we don't, then it should just be gone. So it'll swap. Let's see if I can swap my axe over to it. Yeah, so now it's swapping and doing appropriately. And I'm gonna have to take these dogs out real quick. So in the very next episode, which I'll upload very shortly after this one, we'll do our adjustment to our items for when we have those blank slots added. So I will see y'all shortly.